Sarah, long time no see. How have you been?
John, I've been great, thanks. How about you?
I've been good, but super busy with work. I actually have some exciting news. I'm going to Paris next week.
No way. That's amazing. Paris is such a beautiful city. Have you been there before?
No, this will be my first time. I've always wanted to go, and now it's finally happening. I can hardly believe it.
That's fantastic. Paris is one of my favorite places in the world. There's so much to see and do there. What's the occasion?
It's a mix of business and pleasure. I have a conference for a couple of days, and then I'm taking some extra time to explore the city. I figured I might as well make the most of the trip.
How long will you be staying?
I'll be there for 10 days in total. 3 days for the conference, and then a week to sightsee and enjoy myself.
Do you have any plans or places you definitely want to visit?
I've been doing some research, and there are so many places I want to see. Of course, the Eiffel Tower is at the top of the list. I also want to visit the Louvre, Notre-Dame Cathedral, and maybe take a cruise on the Seine.
The Eiffel Tower is incredible, especially if you go up to the top. The views of the city are just breathtaking. And the Louvre, you could spend days there and still not see everything.
That's what I've heard. I'm trying to balance seeing all the major sights with also just relaxing and soaking in the atmosphere. I don't want to rush from one place to another the whole time.
One of the best things about Paris is just wandering around, exploring the different neighborhoods, and discovering little cafes and shops. Are you planning to visit any specific areas?
I definitely want to spend some time in Montmartre. I've heard it has a really charming, bohemian vibe. And maybe the Latin Quarter, too.
Both of those are great choices. Montmartre is so picturesque with its winding streets and artists everywhere. And the Latin Quarter is lively and full of history. You should also check out Le Marais if you have time. It's a really trendy area with lots of cool boutiques and great food.
I'll definitely add that to my list. Speaking of food, I'm really excited about trying all the amazing French cuisine. Do you have any recommendations for places to eat?
Oh, you're in for a treat. Paris is a food lover's paradise. For a classic Parisian experience, you have to try a cafe like Café de Flore or Les Deux Magots. They're a bit touristy, but the atmosphere is unbeatable. For a more modern twist, check out Le Comptoir du Relais or Frenchy. And don't forget to indulge in pastries, la Durie for macarons and any pâtisserie for croissants and pain au chocolate.
I'm definitely going to need to pace myself so I can try everything. What about day trips? Are there any places outside of Paris that are worth visiting?
If you have time, a day trip to Versailles is a must. The palace and gardens are stunning. And if you're interested in history, the D-Day beaches in Normandy or the town of Giverny, where Monet's house and gardens are located, are both great options.
Versailles is definitely on my list. I hadn't thought about Normandy or Giverny, though. I'll have to see if I can fit one of those in. It sounds like there's no shortage of things to do.
There really isn't. And don't forget to leave some time for just relaxing and people watching. Find a nice cafe, order a coffee or a glass of wine, and just watch the world go by. It's one of the best ways to experience Paris.
I've been so stressed with work lately, and I think just taking it easy for a bit will be really good for me. Do you have any tips for getting around the city?
The metro is fantastic. It's fast, efficient, and pretty easy to navigate once you get the hang of it. But Paris is also a very walkable city, so I'd recommend walking as much as you can. You'll see so much more that way. And if you're feeling adventurous, you could rent a bike or try one of the electric scooters that are everywhere now.
I like the idea of walking a lot. It sounds like a good way to really get a feel for the city. What about the language barrier? My French is pretty basic.
Don't worry too much about that. Most people in Paris speak at least some English, especially in the touristy areas. It's always appreciated if you try to speak a bit of French, though, even if it's just simple phrases like bonjour, merci, and s'il vous plaît. A little effort goes a long way.
I've been brushing up on my French a bit, so hopefully I won't embarrass myself too much.
I'm sure you'll do great. Parisians can sometimes seem a bit aloof, but they're usually quite friendly if you're polite and respectful. Just enjoy yourself and soak in all the culture and beauty around you.
Sarah, I really appreciate all the tips. I'm starting to feel even more excited now.
You're going to have an amazing time. Paris is such a magical place. Just remember to take lots of pictures and bring back some stories to share.
I will for sure. Thanks again for all the advice. I feel much more prepared now. Do you want to catch up when I get back? I'd love to tell you all about the trip.
John, welcome back. How was Paris?
Sarah, it was incredible. I don't even know where to start. There's just so much to tell.
I'm all ears. What was the highlight of the trip for you?
It's hard to pick just one highlight, but if I had to choose, I'd say visiting the Eiffel Tower at night. Seeing it all lit up was absolutely breathtaking, and the view from the top was just spectacular.
Did you get to do everything you wanted?
Pretty much. I went to the Louvre, and you were right, you could spend days there. I think I barely scratched the surface. I also went to Notre-Dame, even though it's still under renovation, and took a cruise on the Seine, which was really relaxing.
I'm so glad you got to do all those things. Did you get a chance to visit Montmartre and the Latin Quarter?
Yes, both were fantastic. Montmartre was so charming with all the artists and the little cafes. I felt like I was in a different time period, and the Latin Quarter was so lively and full of history. I loved wandering around and just soaking in the atmosphere.
Did you try any of the food recommendations?
I did, and I think I might have gained a few pounds. I went to Café de Flore and Les Deux Magots for the classic Parisian cafe experience, and both were great. I also tried Le Comptoir du Relais. The food there was incredible. And you were right about the pastries. I think I had a croissant or a pain au chocolate every morning. La Durie's macarons were out of this world.
I'm so happy to hear that. The food in Paris is definitely one of the best parts. Did you make it to any of the day trips outside the city?
I did. I spent a day at Versailles, and it was just as stunning as you said. The palace is so opulent, and the gardens are beautiful. I also took a trip to Giverny to see Monet's house and gardens. It was so peaceful and inspiring. I can see why he loved it there so much.
Those are both such great choices. It sounds like you really made the most of your trip. How did you find getting around the city?
The metro was super convenient, and I walked a lot too, which was nice. I even tried one of the electric scooters one day. That was a lot of fun. It was a bit tricky at first, but once I got the hang of it, it was a great way to see more of the city.
And how about the language barrier? Did you manage okay with your French?
Yes, it was actually better than I expected. I tried to use as much French as I could, and most people were really patient and appreciative of the effort. There were a few moments of confusion, but nothing major. I think it added to the experience, honestly.